Hello, people. Good morning. It's me again, coming to you all through the power of internet. If you know that reference, you are pretty old, my friend. Sorry to say that, but jokes aside, last time I talked about Japanese horror movies. So to keep the theme consistent, I will talk about some Japan for today too. So since I've been living here for a couple of years, and my history with Japan kind of goes deep. I mean, I came here 11 years ago for a while, and then I left. So I think am a bit qualified to give some to say a few words and give my thoughts on how it is like to be in Japan, and what I think about the culture and the people here. Ooh, golden car, lucky day. Sorry, I got distracted. So let's start with what's my thought on the country. I think Japan is like any other country. I know this is a bit strange take, but considering I've lived in many countries before, for me, Japan, of course, besides things like culture and the tall building, the flamboyant neon fields of Tokyo City. Yeah, I mean, at its core, it's just like the usual any other country. I will elaborate on that. But for today, I will mainly focus on the talk about Japanese life in Japan, right? More like on the scale of like community and on a very personal scale. I will not be talking about working in Japan or politics or this and that. Yeah, we all know yen is weak as shit, but I'm not gonna talk about any of those. I will maybe talk about them some other time, but something much more grounded I will try to focus on. So let's start with Japan itself, right? I think Japan is kind of like one of those countries that fell victim to sensationalizations, and it's not even the fault of the country or the people. It's just the fault of the internet and fault of a lot of people who are trying to I don't know, make content out of exaggerating and bullshitting about Japan, for lack of a better word. And that's why, if you really want to know how it is like to live in Japan, or how is it like to be in Japan, or even how Japan is really like, my first advice to you is to stay off the Instagram, stay off, TikTok, stop watching those reels and videos that tells you like, 5 things in Japan, 2 things cool in Japan, oh, Japanese people never do this and that, right? Stay away from those. That's a very good start, because most of them, I'm sorry to say, are just nonsense, or like common sense. So yeah, and if you start from there, I think you are already halfway through really understanding how it is like to be in Japan. So there's that. And as a foreigner who's living in Japan, actually I live in a very local community like place. So my house, I think there is only one foreigner that lives near me. The entire location in the entire areas are just all Japanese people. I'm even a part of the Fisherman's Guild, because not because I fish, but because I'm renting their parking lot. So yeah, and something I learned along the year is that Japanese people are just human. They're just normal people, and this is something I firmly believe, that there are is no such thing as bad people. There is only bad person. And from my experience, that is absolutely correct. Because here, there are so many people that, treat me very well, welcome my presence, and they try to, tolerate and try to help me, try to make me feel that I belong as best as they could. And of course, there are many that, treat me like shit. So, and that's just not just Japan, that's, everywhere. And, that is one of those things that you have to know no matter where you go. Even in your own, country, you will see one of your own people that probably do not like you very much, and you'll see a lot of your own people that really like you. And yeah, and Japan is the same. So first you have to, understand that first. You can't blanket, statement on everything about like Japanese people. Right? You can't be like, oh, Japanese people are racist, Japanese people are xenophobic and this and that, right? Yeah, there are people that are like that. But on the other hand, there are also a lot of open-minded people. And, I think it's just common sense. It's not something that, I hope I don't need to emphasize upon. I expect whoever listening to me to be a little more intelligent than that. And one other things that I heard from a lot of quite a bit of the foreigners I have spoken with, they're like, oh, in Japan, with Japanese people, you will never be one of them. They will never see you as one of them, no matter how good your language is, and no matter how long you stay in the country. Yeah, duh. You're not gonna be one of them because you're not. No matter how many Japanese poetry you try to learn to recite, you're not going to be one of them. And it's neither a good or a bad thing, because being seen as a foreigner comes with its own perks too. You get away with lots of shenanigans if people see you as a foreigner. Of course, whether it's a good thing or bad thing, that's something you have to decide yourself. But I mean, I got away with a lot of shit acting like a foreigner. And for me, complaining about Japanese people seeing a foreigner as being a foreigner is something that is a waste of time. I don't know. Instead, I would say, up your game when it comes to social and emotional intelligence, and learn how to take advantage of that. So that's, one thing I could say, right? Because one thing I could firmly say is that in Japan, Japanese local community, Japanese people, it's a lot easier to integrate into those community. Again, as a foreigner, right? You're not going to be a native. It's a lot easier to do that in Japan than, say, countries like those Scandinavian countries. I was in Finland for many years, and I felt a lot less welcomed compared to when I am in Japan. Of course, living in Finland, in Europe, there are a lot of benefits and a lot of nice things there. But, you can't say that Japanese community or Japanese society is not welcoming, because it is quite welcoming compared to a lot of other places. So there's that. And, this is one of the things that I would say, that living in Japan is nice, it's fun, it's good and all, but it is the same thing. Like, if you talk with anyone who have moved to a different countries before, they will tell you the same thing. The struggles, we all share the same struggle, because we're far from home, we're far from our own people. And understanding that is the key to be able to adapt yourself properly. And speaking of adaptation, yes, Japan is a place that you will have to adapt a lot. Of course, there are a lot of things that you can do that are not really illegal, but you have this social pressure, or these like the public eyes that will be looking at you, right? And it also depends on how much you actually care about it. Of course, if you don't care about it, you will look like a jackass. People probably think you're a jackass, but it's not illegal to be a jackass until it is. So, yeah, and because of that, in Japan, if you want to, I don't know. But then again, this also applies to any other countries too, where like if you go to those countries, you act like them, right? You do something that they deem not very nice, you will be frowned upon. It's just common sense. Yeah. But that's the thing about Japan, like there are a lot of adaptability that you have to do. Sorry, adapting that you have to do. I remember a friend of mine told me that I'm not going to change, just because people see me a certain way. And I mean, more power to him. If he doesn't want to change. Well, for the context, yeah, he is someone who is a little on a louder spectrum when in public, and in Japan, people do find like loudness to be a bit intrusive, a bit abrasive, and when everyone is very, very quiet on their own in public place, and then you are the one that is like talking very, very loud, right? It's not wrong, it's just I could understand if people are annoyed. And to say that, hey, like I'm not gonna change myself because this is me, again, there is no problem with it. At least for me, I don't see any problem with that. I just feel like as an adult, we live with the consequence of our actions, right? And if whatever we do, if we don't adapt, and then we kind of got judged, or we are excluded by the local, that's just the result of your own action, So yeah, in Japan, a lot, adapting is I would say it's something that you have to do if you want to, live a peaceful life. And yeah, and that's also another thing about, like, if you think that you have to change yourself to be accepted in Japan, I think that kind of, that way of thinking, that thought process, I would say it's not very healthy. Because at the end of the day, I don't think people ever change. People just act differently based on circumstance. For example, I tend to be quite annoying sometimes, just because I'm being very friendly or something. And I know some people do not like certain things I do or certain words I say. And depends on how much I respect the person, I will not do that in front of them. Not because I change myself for them. It's just that, I just adapt myself just to avoid conflict, or avoid dealing with unnecessary nonsense, right? So I think that's like adapting yourself, doing things that avoid doing things that other may find obtrusive, is, I think it's just a matter of emotional and social intelligence. It's not about changing yourself or this or that. You can maintain whatever you define yourself with, whatever attributes you define yourself with, when you are on your own, when you're with people that accept it, and you can adjust yourself to situations and circumstance. So all in all, yeah, these are the what I learned from living in Japan, and how I feel about the life in Japan, and also the people around here. Again, don't take my words as gospel, right? I'm just one guy, and from my few years of experience, these are the things that I concluded. So, yeah, whether you agree with me or not, let me know, right? I think it's one of those things that, the more conversation we have, the more understanding we'll have, not just about the topic, but, among each other too. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, this one ended up being a little longer than usual. So, yeah, I'm not gonna waste your time, so go away. Bye.